For everyone's benefit. November 12, 2019 by Anna von Reitz. Richard to Anna, one more time, there is no real money until you do something with the digital electrons entry, then you have actual currency if you purchase something of real value. That is what you never will understand. This is exactly what people of wealth do. No money was involved. You create your own wealth or not. No harm to anyone. Anna to Richard, and you call me delusional? I understand about your phony digital money very well. The harm comes from the hypothecation of debt against actual assets, actual land, actual labor, actual buildings, actual food, actual water. That is what you don't understand. Richard to Anna, what do you think the 2011 Lien Docs were? Real cash currency? Impossible. Who was the debtor and who was the secured party and what type of lien was it? Who was the trustee, and what was the amount of the total digital entry amount? Anna to Richard, of course, I don't think those liens apply to any real cash. Those liens apply to debts owed by the United States, the well-known national debt thereof, and that debt is owed as the American national credit to the American states and people doing business in international and global jurisdiction as the United States of America. The first lien processes extracted my own estate from this scheme so that I was then enabled to act to rescue the assets of the states of America, collapse the state trusts, attach the state of state assets, then the state of state assets, return everything to the United States of America, then back to the states and to the United States, which then reassigned the international and global assets back to the United States of America, just as it always was and should have been. This lien process went from notice to non-UCC to agricultural lien to fixture lien. It's all done and it's all part of the permanent international record. What has happened, Richard, is that I took it back from the airy-fairy world you live in and landed it all back in Kansas, where it belongs. If you guys want to play in Monopoly money on a computer, just admit that that is what you are doing and don't try to pretend that it has anything to do with me, my money, my assets, my name, my country, my water, or anything related to my living being, and don't try to use legal tender laws which are unlawful to profit yourselves at the expense of the innocent and force them into system of oppression akin to the biblical description of the mark of the beast, RFID chips and digital currencies controlling who can live and who will die and who can buy and sell and trade. The Sphere Alliance is here ready to blow you to kingdom come, and I am here to make sure that they do exactly that. If there is any more deceit, skullduggery, theft, piracy or other idiot shit dumb crap out of you or anyone else, including your little homo carpensis friend, Kim Goguen. Richard to Anna, don't you think it can be fun to deal with a sibling bank from what G. Washington and Hamilton created in 1791? Especially when you show up with a government archive record of how large their share of the digital entry was. Anna to Richard, I can think of a great many things that would be fun, but gloating over the proceeds of crime against innocent people is not one of them. Those proceeds need to go back to the victims along with all the purloined assets, free and clear of debt or encumbrance. You guys know the law, or so you say. Well, under ecclesiastical law the Pope is responsible for liquidating the offending corporations. Under the ecclesiastical law, personage is a crime. Under the Roman civil law, it's okay to cheat so long as nobody calls you on it. You've been called on it. At that point, the fraud has to be unraveled all the way back to the root and exorcised, as in the spiritual process, yes. Under British law, the Cestuike Vi Act of 1666 is still in full force and effect, and when the dead shall prove to be alive, their property assets must be returned, unharmed, free and clear. And the plot to move to Sharia law in hopes of convincing the Muslims to support you in a jihad against unbelievers has failed because 1. You are unbelievers and 2. They have suffered as much and more than anyone else. That leaves all of you squarely on the hook, out of pocket, and whistling in the dark. I, however, am a lawful person and enabled to receive and possess lawful assets. Accordingly, I have claimed all the lawful assets belonging to the states and people of this country. This means that if you and your buddies ever get your heads out of your own nether regions, you can enjoy the very much more actual and factual fun of being landlords and actually in possession of all of what is rightfully and naturally yours. Remember to thank me if you ever wake to hell up. Richard to Anna, what do you think the bank did with their digital entry amount of 14,300 billion? Hint, they did not let it sit in their computer to collect interest. How many times can you turn an investment in the shortest period of time to capture as much wealth as possible? And then to pay as little as possible in taxes on that wealth created. Let your fantasy mind wonder. Anna to Richard, I know exactly what they did. The same thing Jamie Dimon did the Urban Trust assets. They were blocked and traded on private placement trading platforms run as a gambling casino by the World Bank. Strange thing, though, those accounts never pay off, and, add to that, though the digits now run into virtual infinity, not a single additional actual asset exists to underwrite all that bogus bullcrap. Last time I looked, which was some years ago, every silver dollar was worth $40,000 of your US debt. This means that in La La Land, common objects like spoons are unimaginably valuable because your digits are becoming more and more fractional literally by the second. You should have chosen a different profession if you still don't understand that. All these comments are made without prejudice. Links to this article and more can be found in the video description box.